Hello everyone, George here, Catholic Positive Energy. Nice to see everyone. I'm glad I was able to broadcast at the very least on Wednesday night rather than during the day today, but I'm here. So this week's broadcast, I've chosen to talk about being at peace. Now, this is something I'm still learning myself, and believe me, I'm not quite there yet. I'm on this journey with all of you. Like I say, when you hear me talk about these amazing topics, I don't want you to think, some of them I would probably say that maybe I am an expert on, but most of these I'm on the journey with you. I'm not a scholar and I'm not completely to the other side of the street yet. I'm on this journey with all of you. Now, what do I mean by being at peace? Do you know anybody out there, and do you know anybody who never gets angry, who's never mad, ever, even during intense times? Do you know anybody out there who never gets angry? I know I can only count off of maybe one hand how many people I know like that. Unfortunately, someone who I did know who was never angry, who was very much at peace with their life, just recently passed away, and that's my favorite priest, the late Monsignor Tom Wallace, who I will always hold very near and dear to my heart. I'll certainly try to follow in his example. Now, I'm sure there are many people out there watching me right now who, hearing my voice, who I'm sure you get angry from time to time. I do too. I know what it feels like. I grew up around anger. I grew up around a lot of anger. It was practically everywhere, and I couldn't get away from it when I was a kid. First, let me tell this story just so you understand what you should not be and what you should not be thinking about. If you do want to be at peace, hear me out first to understand what not to do. Now, I remember all throughout the time I was a kid growing up, and it wasn't just my family, it was also, when I was going to public school and I was being picked on a lot, classmates would bully me, and they would always be terrible to me and to each other, teachers as well, people who I'd interacted with all throughout that time in my life. There was always a lot of yelling, a lot of rude behavior, and a lot of disrespect I felt being thrown my way, and I always saw it happening around me, and I was just surrounded by a lot of unpeacefulness. I didn't even know what peace meant when I was a kid. And anyways, what I'm saying is, okay, in order to be at peace, you cannot have any negative thoughts or negative energy. You can't be focusing on things that make you unhappy, angry, miserable, unpleasant, sad, sorrowful. All the things that make you feel that way, that make you think of those things need to be gone. Obviously, we're always going to have, to some degree, some negative thoughts, some unpleasant feelings. I understand that. But that should never be our sole focus of our thoughts at all in our lives. It's okay to once in a while have negative thoughts because negative things happen. And, obviously, they never happen when we expect it, and we never want them to happen, but they happen. So we need to be ready and put on our armor of God, our armor of Catholic positive energy. And I don't just mean my channel. I mean this is a thought. This is a way of life. This is a state of mind. Whenever I say Catholic positive energy, I'm not just referring to this community. This needs to be a way of thought, a state of mind, a way you live. And like I say, if we can get to the point where, let's say, I don't know, you're in a very stressful situation that people normally face. Let's say, okay, you're driving on a public road and somebody in another car is not very nice to you. Whatever it is, they sped right by you, they were disrespectful to you, or they zipped on right by you when you were still going a little bit over the speed limit, but they drove right past you and you felt like it was very disrespectful because they cut you off and then you had some unpleasant thoughts. Okay. Now, if you can get to the point where even if people treat you that way, even if people are not very nice to you and it was something that was out of your control, if you can get to the point where you would just say, this is where we need to be, it doesn't bother me. Let it go. See, this is how we need to be with pretty much everything that happens in our lives. It may be difficult with really intense situations, but for things that are not a big deal, okay, somebody cut me off on the road. Let it go. That's how I am, and it just doesn't bother me because I'm not going to get a speeding ticket and I'm not going to drive faster just because somebody who was driving behind me felt like I wasn't going fast enough, and I always go like 3 to 5 miles over the speed limit, so I know that I'm going fast enough. I'm not driving under the speed limit. So obviously that doesn't bother me. That's where we need to be at peace. You need to be someone who, like, you can go outside of your house, wherever it is, work, school, wherever you regularly go. You need to be able to go outside, be able to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and be at peace. You can't be someone whose heart is always pounding all the time because you're stressed out, angry, or miserable, sad, for whatever. I know I've said this so many different ways in past broadcasts. That should never be the way we feel all the time. Like I say, I'll talk about him again, Monsignor Tom Wallace. I never saw him get angry, and everybody I know who knew him better than me, who worked with him regularly, who saw him all the time, they would always say he never got angry. He was always pleasant and loving. I don't know too many people like that. I really don't. And maybe with clergy or religious, people who choose the priesthood or the religious life, well, it's easier for them, I guess, because they don't have to worry about paying the bills or whether they're going to end up homeless or not. That's one of the reasons I guess it's so easy for them to be at peace. But that doesn't mean that those of us who don't choose those lives, who choose to get married or who choose careers, it's always hanging over our heads. Well, I'm just 2 paychecks away from being homeless, so I guess I better never lose my job, which is understandable. But like I say, we can and should be living a life of peace. If anybody can do it, we can do it too. I understand that there's a lot of people out there, including myself, who come from very terrible upbringings, who come from a negative past, who have been overwhelmed with negative energy. Trust me, I know what that feels like. If you watch some of my earlier broadcasts, you will know. I do know what that feels like. So like I say, I try to be positive all the time. It's not always easy. I try to be at peace as much as I can be. And trust me, my life can be stressful as well. But that's where we need to be, to the point where we are at peace and we can just let pretty much anything go. Oh, somebody sped by me on the freeway. Let it go. Doesn't bother me. Somebody wasn't very nice to me when I went out of the house and I was in some public place. Let it go. I understand that not everybody, the world is not going to hold hands and be nice to each other. I wish it would. I know. But we also have to live with the reality that there are some rude people out there in the world, and some of them we have to deal with. And I do have people like that in my life. But anyways, we need to be at peace, because regardless of these rude people who we bump into or have to deal with, who we wish we didn't have to deal with, regardless of those people, we can still be at peace, because we have no control over these rude people who are part of our lives. We have no control over that. We don't have control over anything that other people do, even people close to us. And that's something that we have to accept. Accept that you can't control everything around you and you can't control what other people do. And hopefully, and here's something I noticed, for people who have really wonderful reputations like Monsignor Tom Wallace, Mr. Rogers, hopefully, I hope I can be part of that list as well. I'd like to be. I want to be sincerely, let me know. If we want to have good reputations like them, if we are always loving all the time, kind, and at peace, that's the most important thing. Holiness and peace, those things can be the same thing depending on how you look at it. Holiness and peace. We can have those qualities too. We can. Holiness and peace. One thing we need to always remember is that God loves us, and the love of God is so powerful, so wonderful. If we truly try to think about that a lot, and it's not just for priests and nuns and monks, it's not just for them. We can understand this too, to understand the love of God. That's important. To be at peace and not always focus on our stressful, negative situations. To love others and not let other people's bad behaviors impact us to a point where we become awful people ourselves. I've noticed a lot of people do that. I see a lot of postings like this on Facebook. Don't let other people's negative behavior impact you to a point where you're not loving and you're not kind. I'm saying that now. Don't let other people's bad behavior tear you apart and destroy you. It's one thing to be hurt. It's one thing to be offended. It's one thing to feel like you've been disrespected. It's okay to have those feelings. Those are not wrong. Those are not bad. But if you let other people's bad behavior get to a point where it destroys you and you feel like you're out for revenge, or you're angry all the time, you're stressed out all the time, then no, that's not a good thing. Just want to make that clear so people don't misunderstand me. I don't want anybody to ever misunderstand me. But like I say, if anybody ever has a question or a comment about something I've said or something I've posted, you're always welcome to talk to me and ask me. And you can offer your thoughts and your comments. I don't mind if you disagree. Like I say, there's a difference between disagreeing with somebody and being disrespectful. Disagreeing, I don't mind that at all. In fact, I encourage some kind of a dialogue. But like I say, I understand that, not everybody's going to agree with me. I accept that, So, like I say, to be at peace, don't let whatever is going on in the world, people or, current events, and I'm not focusing on that, but whatever things affect you and impact you and influence you that have nothing to do with peace, all right, those things should not be the main focus of your day, of your life. Anything that you can do to help you get to a peaceful train of thought, a peaceful way of thinking, a peaceful way of life, those are the things you focus on, not what's going on in the news or any kind of tragic things happening or any kind of negative thoughts. Don't focus on those things. Don't let that be your main focus. It's not mine. I try not to let it be. I think I might have said this in the past. Now, this is just me. I'm just telling you this. I don't watch the news. I'm not telling anybody not to watch the news, but I'm just saying I don't watch the news because it's all bad news. And I've noticed that when a lot of people watch it all the time, they're not very happy, but they still keep watching and they're still not happy. I'm not telling anybody not to watch the news, but what I'm just saying is, have you noticed that some people tend to yell at the TV, especially when it turns to another topic, and I'm not going to mention it here, because like I say, I try to keep this as positive as possible. But I'm not telling you not to watch the news, but what I'm just saying is when people tend to focus on things going on in the world, I don't see a whole lot of peace. I mean, if there's anybody here who feels like they are a peaceful person and you focus a lot on what's going on in the world, I'm interested to have a dialogue with you. I mean, feel free to communicate with me. So, maybe there's something I don't know, or I should look at something through a different lens. I'm open to that too. I'm very open-minded, by the way. So, like I say, we need to make peace with ourselves. And whether that means talking to a professional person helping to heal our memories or helping us so we can go forward and live our lives for the rest of our lives and not focus on some trauma that happened in the past or several traumas or maybe something devastating that happened to you recently. Don't let that be the final chapter of your life. If I'll do a future broadcast on this. If anybody ever suffers a trauma, and trust me, I have suffered plenty of traumas throughout my life. I wish that were not the case. Don't ever let a trauma be the final chapter of your life. What do you want the final chapter of your life to be? Peace? Joy? Holiness? Positive energy? Or something that would be the opposite? I want the final chapter of my life to be those things. That's just me. But like I say, don't focus on negative things. Don't let that be your main focus all the time. Get to the peaceful road. And everybody has different methods. These are my methods, and I hope that you utilize these to help you get to a peaceful life. And we're all in this together. Like I said, I'm on the road with you. I'm not an expert or a scholar at this yet. Maybe one day I will be, but I'm not right now, and I'll be the first to admit it. I hope all of you will be able to get to a peaceful situation in your lives as well. But yes, I hope you've enjoyed this topic. And you know how I always say at the end of my broadcast, dignification is better than criticism. I'm also going to include another catchphrase. Like I say, I hope to have new catchphrases throughout, the course of time. Some famous people, they'll always probably be remembered for one catchphrase or maybe two or three. I don't want to just have one the rest of my life. I would like to have more than one. But yes, not only will I say dignification is better than criticism, I'm going to end with another catchphrase, and I know I did a broadcast on this recently. Live life to the fullest. I hope you enjoy that broadcast. I think that was like at least 2 or 3 videos before this one. Live life to the fullest. I'll see you next week for a new topic. God bless.